What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Neon Camouflage Podcast. I'm your host, Max, and today I have a very special guest, Coach Carlos. Welcome to the show, my friend.
I'm glad to be here, my man.
Alrighty, so I sent you a list of questions beforehand. Kind of looked over them.
Yeah,
kind of.
Kind of. I just wanted to, when you asked me, I just wanted to be able to come from the hip with them. You know?
Absolutely, that's great. So while I do want to cover a bunch of these questions, I do first want to start off with your kind of growing up and what got you into basketball, right? Okay. So what's a little bit of a basic background as far as your childhood looking like, and then how did that grow into a desire and overall a career in basketball?
Real quick, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm the oldest of four kids. Single parent mom. Okay. You know, grew up having to help, you know, with the family and stuff. But from a basketball standpoint, at an early age in my neighborhood, we had kids that we used to always play different kind of games, and basketball was the one that I think I kind of led to the most. Mm-hmm. We used to make up all types of basketball rims and to shoot with, so it was a neighborhood thing, and I get kind of stuck with it from that point forward. As I got to high school, you know, I was in a situation where I played sports and not really knew how good I was. Mm-hmm. It was where I had always other people telling me, "Man, you're pretty good. You're pretty not." You know, I'm really a low key kind of guy, so I just, you know, thank you and just. But I had a desire to play. I loved playing it, and I put most of my time into it too. At that point. Yeah.
I think that's definitely an essential. Thing that has to happen if you're going to get good at anything, right? It's just putting a solid amount of time into it at a young age.
And not knowing exactly what I was doing, but I knew I enjoyed playing.
Right.
I had an opportunity, even when I was younger, to play with and against older guys. Gotcha. And that's how I kind of developed the game itself, playing against older guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, like you said, using people who are older than you, potentially better than you, to learn from, right? To bounce off of and everything. And yeah, that's great. So fast forward to today. Give me a brief overview of like where that's gone to. You know what I mean? Like, what does your career look like? What are some essential milestone markers that you've had in your career?
Fast forward to today.
just for the people to get a quick.
Played ball in college.
Okay.
At the University of Mississippi. From there, I was a fourth-round pick of the Celtics, the 83 draft. From that point, I played 2.5 years there. I wasn't able to stick on because of different situations. From that point, I ended up I played into some minor leagues around the U.S. and in Canada for 5 or 6 years. And then I spent the last part of my career in Europe, in Belgium, playing for like 10 years.
Very cool.
So that's kind of where I ended up at. And from that point, then ended up moving here to Naples in 2000. Okay. I had a younger son, was just getting ready to start school, and I was on the tail end of my career, so it was time for me to kind of settle down.
So this was after Germany?
This was after playing over there, yeah. So once I left there, we moved back here, me and my family, and because my kid was getting ready to start school. So I moved here in 2000, like I said. My wife's family lived here. That's how I ended up in Naples.
Okay, gotcha.
We came down one spring.
I was going to ask how you ended up here.
So we came down one spring, and it was like, man, it's pretty nice down here.
Yeah.
So a year later, we moved down.
There you go.
As crazy as that sounds, and been here ever since.
There you go. Yeah. What's your favorite part about it? Besides it just being nice, like
the weather.
Well,
and from a family standpoint, my son, he played all kinds of sports when he was younger. Mm-hmm. We were originally living up still in Massachusetts, so he was a sports guy. So our house was filled with toys, different sports and stuff. So when we moved down here, it was a situation where he could be outside all the time. You know, football, baseball, hockey, all that stuff. So
totally,
yeah.
There you go. That's awesome.
And that's how I ended up here.
All righty. And then we'll start off with the official questions here. So this one's pretty broad, but it's a good one to start with. What is your favorite memory from your NBA career? If you had to choose one.
And no question, it had to be, we won the 84 championship. Hands down.
Incredible.
Nothing will ever top that. I'm a 24-year-old guy straight out of college. Don't too many people get that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's without a doubt.
That's
hands
incredible.
Down. And then playing with some of the best players that, we all heard, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert. So I had the opportunity to play with these guys and without a doubt, winning the championship, being a 24-year-old rookie. So, yes.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's a dream, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so what would you say would you say there was a crucial either decision or a point in time that, I guess what I want to say is, was that something that you were working towards and just grinding for, or was it just kind of, because I know basketball obviously is a team sport, right? So you're dependent on all of those other players to do their part, and they're depending on you to do your part. So what was the most kind of crucial part of getting to that point? Yeah.
I would go back to my college days. Maybe I can go back even further to my high school days. I was a pretty good basketball player in high school, and again, I wasn't the kind of guy that flamboyant. I was really laid back guy, but I played the sport, and people, like I said earlier, people always said how good I was, but you never really know.
Right.
So I get to college, and knowing that was going to be the next step, not even thinking about playing professionally.
Right.
At that point, that was the furthest thing from my mind. But I wanted to play basketball. And had an opportunity going into my second year to be a starter. So I started from that point forward for 3 years there, and had a pretty successful career. We, as a team, we did really well, especially back then. That was a big football school. It was an SEC.
Right.
So that's a big football school, so it was a big football thing. But we were able to, during my time there, kind of bridge a little gap from the football to the basketball thing. Yeah. So we were successful. We went to the NCAA tournament my sophomore or junior year, and that was the first time they'd ever played in the tournament.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was, and after that we played in the NIT tournament a couple of times. So my senior year, again, I'm just playing basketball, and you get the write-ups from the sports people and all this kind of stuff. Never really paid a lot of attention to that stuff. So as my season was winding down, then that's when people start coming to you, want to represent you, getting ready for the draft.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know much about all that, and eventually one of our former baseball players that went to school there that played professionally was an agent.
Okay.
Donnie Kessinger. He
Gotcha.
played with the Chicago Cubs, matter of fact, professional. But he was a good basketball player as well. But anyway, so he got me kind of on track of how it works.
Yeah.
And so that spring came and they had the draft coming. And again, I'm still thinking like, no way. And I think the second day of the draft, I got a phone call from Casey. Casey Jones was the coach at the time.
Yeah.
And, just wanted to congratulate me for being picked by, so
that's
the
incredible.
whole 9 yards. So I'm sitting in my apartment. I'm at school in the summertime. One of my roommates in our apartment. So, they're making a big to-do. I'm trying to be, level-headed and cool and the whole 9 yards. So the day gets away, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is not going to happen. And I think later in the afternoon, I think I know it was the fourth round. But at that point, I had stopped watching it because it came on the night before.
Right.
And so I watched it then, and the day started getting away from me. I said, this ain't going to happen. And sure enough, I got a phone call, and I was like, oh, my God. And at that point, I was like, oh, this is serious.
Super surreal moment.
Yeah, so I had a moment by myself in my apartment, like, dang, man, this is... Because I never thought that far ahead to even consider playing professional ball. So that was, like you said, it's a real moment.
Yeah.
And from that day on, I knew the work had to begin.
Yeah,
so
for sure, man.
I knew I had to go because I had a couple. One of my former college teammates, Elson Turner, he had graduated a couple years before, played with the Mavericks at the time. And one thing he told me, he said, "Be in shape when you get to camp," and that was the only thing I did that whole summer. I ran. I played basketball, but my biggest thing was focusing on just being in shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all played out. I got to camp. They had 20, I want to say about 15 or 20 free agents and veterans that were coming in, along with their regular teammates.
Right.
And there were only 2 spots that were potentially available on the team. So you had, almost 20 guys fighting for 2 positions, basically. So,
but you got it.
It's luck, it's God and luck would have it. I was one of the 2.
That's incredible.
But and I tell everybody, it's not easy.
No.
It is not easy at all.
So what was the hardest part, would you say?
The hardest part was probably the mental side of it. Just mentally having to be ready and have yourself prepared to do.
Yeah.
Especially not knowing what they're looking for, what they're looking at.
Right. That's another question I was going to ask.
Yeah, not knowing. You just kind of out there blindly, so to speak. But it's like all you can do is just do what you can do. That's what you had control of, what you could do.
100%.
But every day, and we was having 2-a-day practices at the time. And every day you get there like, man, what, you're saying to yourself, what is it? What do they want?
Yeah.
What do you got to do? But the one thing I was in shape.
There you go.
But that's probably the toughest thing, not really knowing what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're not really, it's not that much talk, between the coaches and you, and other they may say, great job, this and other, but they're not giving you no insight.
Critiques or feedbacks.
No.
Oh man.
So every day, it's like it's mental. I would say the mental aspect of it.
Yeah, I bet.
You having to mentally get yourself to get ready every day.
That is nerve-wracking.
Oh, it can be.
Yeah.
It can get the best of it. Because there were days, man, I was like, man, why am I here?
Yeah, I bet.
Because you just don't know.
And
you look around, you got all these guys, and even the first day of practice, you're looking around like, man, there's a lot of guys here. And we're not even talking about the veterans that's already on the team. We're talking about the ones that they invited.
Exactly, yeah.
Plus their draft picks. Luckily, I think for me too, that year, they had a first-round pick, fourth-round pick, a sixth. They only drafted, I want to say 8, maybe 9 guys.
Okay.
Back then, the draft was 10 rounds.
Oh.
Now it's only 2. Yeah. So think, so it was 10 rounds back then. So you walk in the gym, it's like you start looking around like, wow, okay. But I would say the mental part of it is the toughest thing. You got to really, from my opinion, that I had to deal with looking back at it.
That's probably most people's
because you just didn't know.
Yeah.
That's
incredible. I mean, it sounds like there has a particular similarity to the military.
Yeah.
In the aspect that it's very physically demanding,
yes.
right? But also very mentally demanding.
Yeah.
And you don't know what they're looking for, and they're only looking for the best. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
That's,
and it was something, but to have the opportunity, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah.
Not one thing. I always say to people, that's one of the best jobs you can have.
Man, that's awesome.
It's one of the best jobs you can have.
Alrighty, my next question for you. We're kind of talking about this, but I guess this is an interesting question. So the question is, who was the toughest opponent you faced, and how did you prepare for them? So I guess you could say, like, going into that championship game, would you say that was the hardest game? I mean, as far as opponents go, right, you can't really put it on one guy. It's an entire team versus...
From that standpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
From opponents, man, you got to understand, too, I grew up watching some of those guys that